Tough Enough kicks off its 2026 campaign with Tough Enough 151. It is this Thursday, live on UFC Fight Pass. It goes down at the Pearl inside the Palms, one of the most plush rooms you can ever have a fight in, or for my guest's sake, fight in. And it's going to be your second time here inside the Pearl. Renato Canuto, everybody's favorite grappler, is what Brandon McCatherine called you. You might be everybody's favorite up-and-coming mixed martial arts prospect as well. Renato, how are you?
Good, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the compliments. I hope I become the next, most favorite grappler in MMA as well. That would be.
Well, I would love to see some of your grappling in mixed martial arts. We haven't seen that yet. You elect to, hurt these guys. What is it about your fighting style in MMA where I guess you've just chosen blunt force trauma over the gentle art, if you will?
I guess I am trying to figure it out, like what it's like to hit someone full force. As I got to train for like 4 years now, for almost 5, probably like nonstop, and I finally got to fight like last year. So I feel like I just had to get the jitters out and see how it feels to go full on all out and try to use my striking and punch or get punch to get hit. This last fight I actually got touched a few times, so made my dreams come true. I feel like the first one was kind of too quick too, and I was like too happy about that. But this last one was cool. But I definitely looking forward to this time, hopefully showing more jiu-jitsu. I guess also trying to keep it in a way where it's like not a secret for sure. If people are always gonna know I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, but for as long as I can, if I can just strike and I can use that while the level still allows me to, that's where I'm trying to really get my experience, on that aspect. And then once things start getting tougher, and I'm in the UFC against some of the best strikers in the world, I can at least look like I'm going to strike, and then I can get them to where I want, which would be on the ground for sure.
Well, it's all about getting experience, and we know your high-level jiu-jitsu pedigree. Coming into MMA without any amateur fights, really, you're just jumping into the pro ranks. You talk about the long process it's been to get here, Renato. Was there ever a concern that your MMA career was never actually going to start because of all the delays?
Yeah, there was for a little bit, yes. Yeah, I had just some troubles, some contract issues once I started trying to go towards MMA, and then I got put back into grappling. But then, I thought it was a good opportunity for me to fight on this company for grappling and MMA also. And then at the end, it just became a nightmare, and I got 2 years. Like I got one match that didn't go well, didn't go my way at least. I lost by decision, and then after that, I just didn't get a chance to go back at it. That's how come you saw me back at PGF, and once I got the okay to go back to competing outside of it, I started just trying to get busy while that contract was still about to run out. Then once it ran out, I finally started looking into fighting MMA. It just took a lot longer than I hoped for to actually get my first one going, but it happened. And now I'm just trying to stay busy, trying to see who's willing to fight me, and I'm taking on anybody really.
Yeah, you're taking on Luciano Ramos, tough Argentine with a ton of experience. He's got 25 fights. I mean, 20. I mean, granted, you have a lot of experience in jiu-jitsu, but was there
Yeah.
any hesitancy, Renato, in taking on a guy who has been inside the cage 25 times?
No, not really. I looked at a bunch of the guys that they sent my way, and a lot of them were like, guys with a lot of fights, even record on most of the options. And I was like, honestly, I'm looking forward to fighting like a prospect kind of guy at this point. I want to really like test myself. Honestly, I do not want to have this idea of like, oh, I'm doing so well, and then my first shock is at the UFC. Let's say if it does happen, it can happen faster than I even hope for. It can take longer, but I know I will be there. And if it is sooner than later, then I just want to make sure that I'm ready and I got all the experience that I need. Once I saw that guy, I was like, oh, you know what? I watched some of his fights first before I said anything. I was like, you know what? I actually like how he fights. He's a scrappy guy from Nick Diaz camp, and he likes to stand and bang, and he shoots, and you know he's been there for a lot of good guys as well. And I was like, okay, that looks like good a good tough dude for me to try and put away. I do not want to have like a fast experience again. Honestly, I want to get more time in. I want to really like let it go. Of course, I'm trying to finish him however I can, whenever I can, as soon as I can. But if he's going to be there for longer and give me a more extended fight, and more looks, then even better for me. I feel like that's what I'm chasing right now, is really that experience, the time being there, my reads, my not just that emotional like it's been like the last two, just excited to be there and trying to kill someone. I want to really get my distance right this time, work my jabs from a distance first, and then set up my takedowns, maybe a flying submission. That's really what I would like to do for this fight, is hopefully set up a flying submission if I can like knock him out on the stand up. Those are the things I'm like right now envisioning, is either trying to get him with some nice stand up strikes that hopefully will put him away. If that's not working, setting it up to get him in a flying submission.
We've seen you go airborne before, and you're getting me all excited about talking about flying things. But I will say this: it is something that has to present itself. Going back to your PGF match with Mike John, if you break down the tape, you can see he's kind of pawing at you with his arm, and then once you got the read, you just went for it. I mean, are flying submissions and things like that something you're always sort of cognizant of, and looking for openings?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like ever since I was a little kid, that was the thing that caught my eyes, and I was like, wow, this is so much cooler than anything I've seen before. So flying armbars was the first, and then flying triangles and things like that. And I just started training and drilling and trying at the gym, and drilling my friends over and over and over again, and then we would all go to compete and try and fail and get my guard passed immediately. And I had to really work on it. So I feel like over the years I got better and better and better at it, and I've hit on real high level guys like over the course of my career. And I'm excited to be one of the only guys to doing MMA. You don't see it all the time in MMA, and I feel like it is there. It's always there. There's a lot of clinching. There's a lot of like stand up grabbing and leaning on the wall, and I feel like even shooting on the wall sometimes stuff. You waste a lot of energy trying to suck the guy off the wall, and that fight like extends. I feel like those times would be a good opportunity for me to attack flying submissions. And when I say flying, it could be like anywhere from a flying armbar to a kanebasami to a heel hook,
Yeah.
maybe a triangle. But yeah, something that comes airborne.
I mean, I like the fact that you're not afraid to, call it out, and that it's on your mind. But I think about the risks of it. I mean, yeah, it's an
Yeah,
MMA
yeah,
fight, 4 ounce gloves, definitely. But worst
yeah,
case scenario, Hinato, you end up on your back, and maybe the
yeah,
submission's not there. But there's
yeah,
not a lot of guys that want to hang out in your guard. So if
yeah.
getting to the ground off of a flying submission is the result of attempting it, you're almost in a better position than you were maybe standing.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if the striking is not looking too great and things are not going too well for me, then I'm full on in my world now. At least we're on the ground. With that said, you don't want to be on bottom playing guard a whole lot in MMA. Nowhere like I'm stationary in front of them. But because I've been training for so long now, and I've had so many different looks, and I'm always playing with different things. Even when I'm doing jujitsu, especially when I have a fight coming up like right now, my goal is to use my guard as like what would I do if it was an MMA situation. And I feel like I got really good at like using my legs to attack upper body, and then making people posture up and trying to get away from those, and then they expose their legs and I get under, but I'm always hiding my legs in between, my head in between their legs, and making it like awkward for them to aim and hit me. I feel like if I'm right in front of them, it's really easy, but if I'm behind them or underneath them, and my head is hidden behind their ankles, for example, it becomes a lot harder for them to be able to get good strikes going. They lose balance if they do try to strike me from there, so then it becomes easier for me to flip them over. Um, so I feel like I got good ideas for guard, but again, it's not super hard for someone to just like kick themselves away and hopefully get away before I can trap them good. But even off the flying armbar, I feel like because I have so much experience on trying things like that, if I jump on a flying submission, I fall straight into looking for an ankle and a De La Riva hook, and I'm already trying to off balance them and entangle with the leg. So hopefully in this fight I can do that too. If things do go wrong and I get too excited and try to rush. I feel like in this last match in Jiu Jitsu against Alan Sanchez, I rushed right in the beginning. I tried to jump, and I was hoping he was gonna post into me too, but he didn't, and it became like a close guard jump. But then right away I went for a leg entanglement and got him to sit down and attack a toe hold. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like I can always mix a match if you need me.
Yeah, and I think about your leg attack too. I mean, it's very dangerous in jiu-jitsu, but there are benefits of a good leg game in MMA where maybe the submission's not even there, but it can induce scrambles. You can get back on top. Uh, and, like you said, if you were smart about your attacks with the legs on the floor, you got to be hiding your head. I think that's the reason we haven't seen a lot of, high-level jiu-jitsu guys really try to do the leg attacks in MMA because it can take just one little mistake, one little your head's in the wrong position, and all of a sudden you're waking up and asking what happened. But going back
Yeah.
to where you're at in your MMA career,
Yes, sir.
you talk about wanting the fight to maybe go a little bit longer, sort of feel the rhythm. You seem to be in the zone the minute that you walk out, and I think it's because of the high profile jiu-jitsu matches you've had. But the results inside the cage have been phenomenal, but
Yes,
also
sir.
just sort of owning the spotlight. It seems like you're just as comfortable walking into a mixed martial arts fight, maybe a little more charged up.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're very comfortable in those moments.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, I feel like I am naturally, my I guess I am wired as an entertainer more than I am a competitor. I like the idea of entertaining, and I like the idea of, stealing the show and being the person who pushes the pace and who is in the offense and get like when I'm in there and I can fight, especially right now in MMA, I don't have to stress. I have a lot of stress, of course. You can get put away anytime, but I guess I don't have a whole lot of stress in my mind of like things like, oh, if this go wrong, what am I gonna do? I'm like more right now. I'm more locked in on how can I get my things going? How can I get my hands going? How can I get my kicks through? How can I get my takedowns? And this far has been good and it felt good. I am a little bit overly excited, because I'm also on that high of like, okay, put him away before he puts me away, and I feel like that's gonna slow down as time goes. But for right now it's just awesome. I really enjoy the feeling that I get going there and all the adrenaline and and the idea of the do or die. I feel like I was missing that in jiu-jitsu for a little while, and some matches do bring that out of me, but a lot of the times, I know I'm going against tacticians and it's a little bit more technical than I hoped for. MMA, because of the punching, because of the kicking, because of the strikes, I feel like I can just make the whole time entertaining, fun.
I mean, it's a lot different, the mindset going into a match when, maybe your opponent's sole goal is to literally break your face. But,
Yeah.
I'm curious, I've had a chance to call a lot of fights of your wife, Raquel, in the past. She has got a ton of MMA experience as well as
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu experience. Has she given you any sort of wisdom or advice on, you know, your MMA career?
A lot. Keep your hands up. She's always yelling at me, dude, keep your hands up, keep your hands up. Because of my jujitsu being elusive and me liking the to move to kind of lure you in my game, and then hide between my feints and fakes and looks, and movement. I feel like that's kind of what I end up doing naturally whenever it's like fight time, especially or some sparring sessions. I am trying to find my own rhythm. You do see a lot of guys out there, like I want to say like Shan O'Malley, Carlos Prates, or there's a handful of guys, MVP, a bunch of guys really that they are pretty comfortable fighting with the hands a little bit lower, but they do have a lot of experience on striking. So that's something that I need to still gain and get more comfortable with. And then I feel like eventually it's going to become easier and easier for me to do things like that. But for now, yes, I should keep my hands up and bring it back and stay tight and make sure my defense is there if need be. But in a way, it's almost like, come on, hit me, So if they do try to hit me, I can get under the punches a little bit better, especially if it looks like so clear for them to catch me. I feel like my hands up make them stay further away, and then they're touching my hands now, and their guard's also tight. So I feel like it's almost like me trying to get a little bit closer, let them feel a little bit more comfortable in there, so I can also get in and get my things going. Yeah, definitely trying to fix that as much as I can, trying to always like remind myself, bring my hands back up, keep breathing. There's a lot of like little things that are different on the striking that I want to like always remind myself as I'm going, moving my feet, moving my head, side to side, back, down, things to think about the whole time, especially because it is newer for me. It's really easy for me to get locked in on one thing and then forget the rest. So I'll do really good on one thing some days, and then other things are not doing so great, and then I fix that, but then I drop the other part. So it's been my white belt experience in MMA this far, but I think I'm getting there. I'm figuring it out pretty good, and the best part is I enjoy it. I haven't yet felt scared of anyone. I've had like few like dangerous trainings where I was like, you know what, cool, dude. I don't want to do that. We're not fighting. You ain't paying me. Like, what is that about? Other than that, I had like a lot of good sparring sessions too, where we just went all out, and those are my friends, and we were cool, and it was fun. Um, this far, feeling pretty comfortable with it, and I feel like I surely should have a good future in MMA. And I really want to get into the UFC, man. I hope this is the year. I hope I can do it this year and not later. I don't want to take too long where my time is, maybe expiring by the time I'm hitting the big fight. So I will need to do things a little bit faster than most, and that's why I'm trying to fight as much as I can and strike as much as I can, so I don't have to take my time and get my experience.
It's all about that controlled acceleration because obviously the goal is the UFC. Your opportunity to get into the octagon, I think, is going to be a lot quicker than most guys that are 2-0 in their MMA careers. But when I look at it, you said something that I think is really important, and that's not getting there too early. You want to face some adversity. Sounds like you faced some adversity in the gym. In MMA, we have not really seen. I think you got hit, a couple of times in
Yeah.
your last fight on the
Hmm.
feet, but is there one sort of metric that you're trying to, at least experience before you were to, take a offer from the UFC?
Yeah, yes and no. I know that they have. So basically, I know that the schedule that the UFC has for Contender Series is August about, and they should be deciding that by May, June, maybe. And I'm positive they're having two seasons this year even, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but I heard that before. So there might be more opportunity on a Contender Series than just getting straight into the UFC. But even then, it means I'll probably be fighting a good prospect and someone who's well capable of putting me away. I've seen other guys like Muhammad Ali, who I thought was doing great in MMA, and he's been doing what I think you should do as a jiu-jitsu guy coming to MMA, like kind of what Cody Steele also did. I feel like I've had a few guys that did that. They went there and they used striking, and they used their hands, and they got comfortable with that, knowing that like, okay, jiu-jitsu is there, and I got to remember that. But they got all that experience, but then Muhammad went there to fight for Contender and ended up, getting knocked out like really soon into the fight, and that was like super sad to watch because he just didn't have much time to show what he's capable of either. So that's the tough part about Contender. He's not really a contract yet. So you go there and you're fighting against someone really good, and if things go well, great, you got a contract, but you get like the base pay, and then you have 3 fights until you get out of there and renegotiate. So honestly, I feel like I've I have a lot to offer in a way. I have to grow my brand a little bit better, honestly. But as far as fighting goes, as far as entertainment goes, I always make sure I take care of business when I'm there. And I feel like, if they have the right eyes to see what I bring to the table and what I have to offer, I should be able to get, something better, hopefully. But even contenders would be good. So my point being is knowing that contender is around August, I have to do about 2, 3 fights until then. That's my goal. So first semester of the year, full on MMA, staying on it, trying to get right back as soon as possible, and keep keep stacking victories and getting experience and giving looks and building my resume, my highlights, so I can get to where I want to be.
I mean, that's the right mindset to have, plan for what you can kind of control. And then maybe, because that's the thing too. You're a guy that if someone, comes up too heavy, 2 weeks out before a fight or
Uh-huh.
gets hurt, I mean, there's a possibility you don't even have to go to the contenders. I think you
Yeah,
have that buzz around you that could just get you a direct call to the UFC.
yeah. I hope so. I sure hope so. I think that would be like the best case scenario in a way. As long as I am training, which I usually am, I'm never really like
Yeah, how do you
chilling or
not train? You're you're
fat or
you're
heavy.
always
That's
doing
all I do.
jujitsu or getting ready for a
Yeah,
fight, Renato. I mean,
yeah. It's
what
all
do
I
you
know.
do in your off time? Is there off time?
There is no off time. Not as of lately. Honestly, I had like those 2 year break, and then I feel like that was the only time I ever had a break. It was right after COVID as well. So I picked up skateboarding and I did some things that I wanted to do, and I was like, getting bored in the house and stressed, so I had to get my mind away. But in the last 2 years already, it's full on back like I never did before, or maybe like I did when I was like super young, maybe like 16 years old and competing every weekend. But it's been like that for the last 2 years. I've been just on it and really trying to um, play catch up with the amount of experience that I need to gain in such a short amount of time before I get to where I want to be. Like I said, the UFC, like any other MMA guy wants to, but because I have such a level in jiu-jitsu, I want to just go there and be able to take back to jiu-jitsu grounds and show the jiu-jitsu a dominant art of fighting, and I can use that against the best and finish people. Feel like we need more people finishing people on the ground, especially getting more submissions out there versus wrestle and control. And it's not as fun. It doesn't get as much respect as someone who is a knockout artist. But those guys also get stuck on striking fights that never end, and sometimes it becomes boring as well because now we're both respecting each other. I feel like my ability of mixing it up is what really gonna catch people's eyes because I'm always trying to be putting people away, at all costs.
Skateboarding. I
Yeah,
didn't I didn't peg you
skateboard.
as a skateboarder. Like, can you do like a
Yeah, yeah.
kickflip and stuff? Can you ollie?
Yeah, I can ollie, kick flip, okay. I can do a few things. I like parking like bowls and things like that. I like the surfing kind of feel of it.
Okay.
I started hitting the coping once I didn't have competition anymore. I started learning how to, grind the top a little bit. So those are things that I always wanted to do, but I was always too scared to full on try and fall and get hurt. So I was like, what, I have like 2 years to figure this out. So I took my time and went slowly, increasing my the amount of things that I wanted to try out, and I got decent at it. I'm not great at it, honestly, but I enjoy. I enjoy. There's something that in the future, if I retire and I still have good knees and ankles left, I will get back to it and do more often. Maybe surfing. I live in Vegas, so I get skateboard instead of surf.
Right. Yeah. I mean, skateboarding is terrifying to me. I think I'd rather get into a mixed martial arts fight
Yeah,
myself than try to skate because I know
yeah,
I'm going to get hurt in both of them.
yeah.
In MMA, I'm not going to have to peel, rocks out of my
Oh
forearms.
yeah, yeah. It's
In
pretty tough.
skateboarding, I definitely might have to. I'll let you go with this. You're the only fighter that I've seen in their first two MMA fights land soccer kicks to the body. Is this something that has just presented itself to you, or is this something that we should expect from you throughout your career?
I guess I'm the first one. It did just present itself to me. So I was might as well do it. You're not gonna get up. So here it is. I need to put him away. Like I said, like I not necessarily want a stoppage. I want to really like get a knockout out done. This guy's done. And I guess the soccer kick is almost like the most impactful thing I can throw after a knee to the body, maybe on the ground. When the opponent is grounded, I can punch them and stuff like that. But um, I also feel like on those cases, whenever they're covering up and they're just trying to wait for me to hit their hands, I'm chasing their head at all costs, going underneath and over. Once I feel like there's no space, um, this far, honestly, I just feel like it has to do with my IQ of what is open, what is there for me to hit. And the same thing will be stand up too, hopefully on this fight I can show that a little bit more. Feel like for the things that hit the looks that I have seen from this guy, if the fight goes the way that I want, I'll be able to even show that on stand up where like I can just pick the target and pick him apart and hit him on top, make him cover, hit him to the body, and if he's hitting me too much, then that's when I'm like, okay, let's take a break, boom, pick him up, take him down, that I can always rely on that. So I feel like I'm pretty comfortable this far and just trying to get my moves out, jitters out, and try new things, try fun things. I have a lot of things planned for this match. If it goes a distance and if it goes my way, I feel like I'll be able to showcase a lot more than I was able to in the last two.
Well, I will say, if this fight goes the distance, if you do land a soccer kick to the body, I can't think of a more dominant thing to show the judges. than that. But Renato, it's been a pleasure watching you, come up and see where you're at this far in mixed martial arts. And again, the journey continues this Thursday. It is live on UFC Fight Pass, part of Tough Enough 151. Can't wait to see you back inside the cage, and we'll see you do work.
I'll see you there, TJ.